So welcome to the next episode of this wee Astral Chat sort of series, something to do throughout the summer. We interview or chat with Paul from Dundee, which he's a really good astrophotographer in Dundee, captures pretty much everything from the comfort of Dundee, which is pretty much he goes and gets not lucent clouds, northern lights, really, really cool moonrises. He lines them up perfectly, so I thought it'd be really good to chat with him. Like all the other videos, I'll put all of their socials in the description so you can go and check them out. But yeah, here is Paul from Dundee. Yes, yourself, Paul, you're Dundee photographer, astrophotographer. Would you just say photographer? Because you capture a lot of things, don't you? You
Yeah,
capture pretty much anything from the law. You're always up at the law, Dundee law. Seem to capture pretty much everything from up there. Um, but yeah, you capture a lot of good moonrises. How do you like go around planning the moonrises? Because you always seem to align it perfectly with the law.
yeah. So yeah, I'll start off that I describe myself as a hobbyist photographer.
Yeah,
I don't like to class myself. Everybody's got kind of, especially in photography, you've probably seen it. There's a lot of award winnings. There's a lot of like,
yeah,
aged photographers, and it's one of those things. And I think hobbyist is what I fit in because I just like to press the button,
yeah.
and editing's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Yeah, in regards to the moon, yeah. So it's before I even did photography, you would be driving home from work, or you'd be kind of looking out your window and you'd see the moon just kind of rising, and it would just like align with something, and it would be
Yeah,
perfect. And you just
yeah,
visually look at it, and you take out your mobile phone or whatever kind of camera you have at the time, and you would try and take a picture that just looked awful. But
yeah. Moon,
looking at it, it just looked.
moonshots and phones does not go together.
Yes, it's very difficult anyway. I mean, you've got these hundred. I've got the Samsung
Yeah,
Note S22, and you can zoom in quite good with that, but it's still, there's a
still
lot of
not
post
nice.
processing, and it just, gets it not looking particularly how you visualize the visualization of it just looks way better than what I was able to capture on any phone camera at the time.
Yeah,
But so I'd always had a vision of the moon rising behind the law and people standing on top of the law, just going about their
yeah,
business,
yeah,
and just me, just visualizing it. But it wasn't until I got into photography uh, that I was able to kind of put that into fruition.
yeah. It's actually
Uh,
possible to get that.
yeah, and coincidentally enough, so as you know, when you zoom into the moon, unless you've got a good high megapixel camera or a good tele lens, it's hard to kind of get that crop because even though as big as the moon is, to
Yeah,
zoom in all the way and to get some good detail, it's quite difficult.
yeah,
So my good friend Martin, who was the one who I would say he got me into photography,
uh-huh.
uh, and he had a Nikon P900
Yeah,
bridge camera. And if you're not aware, I've got it here, and it's just yeah, just a bridge camera, meaning you can't really change the lens off of it.
right, yeah.
Uh,
That's the
and it's
thing, yeah.
all kind of compact all in one. It's wide angle, and it says here 24 mil to 2000 mil.
That's ridiculous. I
Yeah.
remember, yeah, I remember I've been fishing with someone and they're like, "Oh, I can zoom in 2000 mil." I'm like, "What?" And they do it. And it's obviously it's mental that some cameras do that because astrophotography is all about. "Oh, I need to get the 50 millimeter lens, this lens, and someone
Mhm.
whips out a 2000 millimeter lens. You're like, what the?
Yeah, it's an all-in-one camera. So for me, it was quite easy because you're not having to
Yeah,
fiddle about with lenses. You're not having to like really focus. It was just a back button focus. So you would kind of
yeah,
zoom in, and you would just hit like the OK button a few times. It would, so you would zoom into the moon. You would hit OK. It would automatic focus because the moon's bright enough, and there we
yeah.
go. Click the button,
Well
and
done.
or hit record. And that's a beauty. So it only shoots JPEGs for the P900 and does 1080p.
Yeah,
So you're very limited when you take pictures for editing, if you want to change the color balance. But
it's,
in terms of video, it's just fantastic, even at
yeah.
1080p.
Yeah. So what do you use now? What's your equipment like now?
Yeah, the equipment I use just now. So I'll talk you through my first camera because I've got a kind of special place. And as I said,
Oh,
my friend Martin got me this gift when my daughter was born. He
uh-huh.
bought me this little camera, and it's a Sony. I'll take this off just so you can see the size. A Sony A5100.
Right.
Came out in like 2014.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and it's not even got a viewfinder. It's a crop sensor
Yeah.
camera. And I tell you what, when people talk about needing the best of the best gear, this
Yeah.
has got me some, bangers,
Yeah.
in the, in
It's
the
all about
past,
how you use the cameras, pretty much.
exactly.
You could give a world-class photographer a crappy camera and they'll get a good picture.
Exactly. That's it. So it's, yeah, some people have all the gear and no idea, that's the
Yeah.
kind of common saying.
Yeah.
So for me, like that was like, it was a brilliant gift. It came with this like 50 millimeter lens, which is f1.8, and it's both Sony. Uh,
Yeah.
and I was gifted that, and I used that for the majority for the first 2 years. So I got gifted in 2019,
Hmm.
and I've been using it since probably about summer 2019 to about 2 years ago,
Hmm.
until I got my upgraded one, which was Sony A6600. So
Nice.
it was the creme de la creme of the crop sensor variants.
Yeah, they're good
And the
cameras, aren't
re Yeah, and the reason I went for the crop sensor is because, as you know, it's an expensive hobby,
they? Yeah.
um, and I had the lenses already to go full frame. I could have used the crop sensor on it on a full frame camera, but you're kind of losing out the advantage you get with a full frame. I
Yeah.
mean, there's other bells and whistles, like joysticks and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but you lose out on that kind of extra light, so that lower noise for particular
Yeah.
astrophotography, and that's kind of what
Yeah.
you want. But as you know, you can do a lot of stuff in post, or you can do a lot of kind of techniques like stacking and
Yeah.
that. So there's other methods, or even
Yeah.
longer exposures. So there's other methods you can kind of get around that. So my justification was get the best it was known as the best crop sensor at the time.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so yeah, I got that, and yeah, having a viewfinder, that was a
Yeah.
big thing, right?
Amazing.
Because this one doesn't have a viewfinder. So when I started out, I was everything manual. I never started it with any autofocus because
That's the best way to start.
it is. Honestly,
Yeah.
I testify by it because it helped me learn the fundamentals. Where a lot of people I know started off with autofocus, and even to this day struggle. If they've been doing photography for
Yeah.
years, they
Yeah.
struggle to focus in on a star, or a
I
straight
know.
light or a that, and it takes a little bit getting used to, as you know,
It
right?
does. Yeah, everything I do is completely manual. I don't do anything. Don't let anything do anything. I do everything myself on my camera. It's the best way to learn, really. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And that's the thing. That's why you buy these expensive cameras, so you can have the bells and whistles, um, to use to your advantage. But there's obviously some, especially astrophotography, you just want to kind of go back to basics. And that's
Yeah.
why I would always recommend anybody who's getting into astrophotography, or even just photography in general, you don't need the best of the best. Learn how
No.
to use your camera manually, and you'll end up mastering a lot of shots,
Well,
right?
I still use. I've got an old Canon 1300D. Not an
Hmm.
astrophotography camera at all. I still get some pretty good like moonshots now and then. Yeah, it's nothing to do with the camera really. The Sony's help with, especially let's say recording videos at night and stuff. That costs a lot um, to get that. But yeah, like say capture moon pictures, you don't need much at all. What lenses do you use to get the moon? You got like
Yeah. So as
yeah,
it's mentioned about I'll kind of go back to the story that I had with the moon and the law. So I had the P900 initially, and that was my kind of tele lens.
mm,
That was the go-to. Yes, I can't take raw pictures with it, but I can at least capture videos and maybe take a
yeah,
screen grab from that, and it's good enough for social media. I'm not selling
yeah.
prints of it.
Well,
So
that's the thing. Most people kind of shoot for social media these days, so you're not going to notice that, a couple of £100 extra spent on a camera to get a tiny bit of shot. It's on Facebook. Who cares? You just view it for
yeah.
2 seconds and keep scrolling. That's pretty much the world we live in. So yeah, you're not blowing it up in huge prints.
Hmm. And that's exactly it. So, so for me, it was, it's what I had available to me. It did what it needed to do in terms of tele lens, because I only had that 50 and a Samyang wide angle, which is also a manual lens.
Yeah,
Um, so not I'll focus on that. But as you know, when you come into a new hobby like photography, you've either got to like sell a kidney, or
yeah, it's ridiculous.
financials, you remortgage or something to get.
Yeah,
And so at this point, after the camera, getting that, I couldn't really justify a tele lens, but I was like, what, I take a lot zoomed shots, and people talk about lens compression. It's not really, I know it's really, you're just kind of focally zoomed in, at a higher detail. But
I'm not
yeah,
technical at all. I'll just shoot a shot, zoom
yeah,
in, press shoot.
that's it. So, but for me, it was about getting as much detail as possible, but spending less.
Yeah,
But so sometimes what you do is you kind of snipe a deal and stuff like you'll look online and you'll get one. So I managed to get the currently I use is the Sony 72 350 mil.
right. Yeah,
Um, and obviously that the full frame equivalent would be I think if 525 millimeters. So
I still don't even understand full frame crop. I just it's in the frame. It's in the frame. I don't even bother with all the science and stuff.
yeah, no, I'm with you. So the reason I do the due diligence on that, and it's the same when like I build computers, I want to get the most for my money. So that's why
Yeah,
I'll do a bit of research. So you don't need to know that. If you're right, if it does what it needs to do, who
yeah,
cares about that? So because I didn't want to go and spend hundreds of pounds on something that didn't
yeah.
quite, because it's not like you can go in and just test it. There's very
No,
little camera shops nowadays, so you're kind of
oh, there
buying
is.
something
So
on a
I struggle.
whim.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to go and buy photography gear. It's just
Mhm.
all online now, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the difficulty. So you kind of do what YouTube videos. I think that's what I did a few.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, you just search on YouTube. Yeah.
if you search for that camera and astrophotography, you'll not get really much. Somebody's trying to do deep space
Well,
objects. Shoot a dromedary with it, and yeah, you won't find anything. So you're going right. Okay, I'm assuming that'll have the reach and then some. I can do
yeah,
some moon photography. I can potentially do deep space objects if I want to, and then obviously I can do my day shooting as well. Because it
yeah,
has all this stuff like autofocus and stabilization.
yeah.
So yeah, that's in essence really my gear. I don't have
That's
much
what
more
you
than that in terms of
that's what you
camera.
use for your shots nowadays.
Yeah, so mostly the A6600
Yeah,
with a Tamron 17 to 70.
yeah,
Um, and then I've got my 70 to 350 in the Sony.
yeah.
And I also have the Samyang, I think it's 12 millimeter
Oh, yeah.
f2 one manual lens.
Do the
And
job. Sam
yeah,
Yang's always back Sam Yang's. I love Sam Yang.
yeah,
Got
you can't
one,
go
two,
wrong. The
three,
price for
four.
them as well.
One, two, three, four. Four Sam Yang lenses, yeah. Yeah, Sam Yang's cheap, cheerful, does the job. Brilliant.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
definitely. Yeah, and I mean the quality of your images are good. I remember that you got a belter of the moon over whatever castle it was, Brotaferro Castle. I remember
Yeah.
clicking on the image and just it just made you a photographer. You just zoom in and you're like, oh, that's and it was really good quality. Like that was quite a banging shot that one. It was perfect timing with the right sky and stuff.
Hmm.
How do you plan them? Do you use like photo pills and stuff?
Yeah, spot on. That's exactly the app that I can use. You can do trial and error, and yourself, the more you spend under the night sky and watching the moon, you start to kind of there's a repetition. You notice that, like,
Yeah,
oh, the Big Dipper's at this time of the year is here, or the moon rises there. Now,
that's
obviously,
pretty schedules.
don't don't know it perfectly, but you've got a rough idea. So that's a good gauge just from experience before even
Yeah,
using an app. But photo pills just, if nobody's used that app before, it just, if you're planning any moon rises or sun rises and you want it
yeah,
in a particular place at a particular time, that'll allow you to visualize it and plan for it with,
yeah,
your specific camera and gear as well. So you
yeah.
can see like the
Oh
focal
yeah,
length you need to have it at. And yeah, it's
that's
great. So
cool.
that particular shot, yeah, aforementioned about Ferry,
Yeah,
I planned that on photo pills, from
yeah,
across in Fife, and I've done it twice now, so I kind of had a rough idea.
yeah. I'm
But
wanting that shot. I'm wanting that shot. It's a good shot. Yeah.
Scottish castles are just,
Scottish
they're a
Castles
great
with the
scapegoat,
Moonrise.
and a
It's
moon, yeah,
boom.
yeah,
It's boom. I use the app. It's the photographer's ephemeris. We use it online, but there's a wee app for it. It's pretty much just like Google Maps,
right.
but 3D, and you can get the night sky. It just kind of gets all the topography throughout the night sky. That's what I use.
Hmm.
It's probably more simplified than photo pills. I think, yeah, all the features in photo pills, this has not got. It's pretty much just you put a pin in and you can see around yourself and just hope it lines up. But it works very good for me. I've kind of captured good things over using with that app. But I think photo pills is definitely probably the best for it. I think.
The only thing I think that puts people off photo pills is the price. I can't recall it. It was something like £10 or something around that. And I
Yeah.
hesitated for a while because I'm like, how often? I can just go out
Yeah.
and do it, take a shot. And I got shots, but I, I just, I think I got a play, a Google Play Store like discount, something
Yeah.
like £3. And I thought, right, if I'm going to buy it, I'm buying it now. So, it's not
Yeah.
about how much it is. It was about, am I going to pay that amount to use it that
It's when
often?
it comes to an app, no one wants to pay for an app. Like that photographer's ephemeris app,
Yeah,
but that was nine ninety
it's
nine.
free.
That's
Oh, it's
the
a
no
9.99. Okay.
999, but it's completely worth it. But yeah, you always go, I'm not paying for an app, that's ridiculous. But I mean, when you get the use out of it, it's pretty. I'm sure you've had your good use out of it. Photo
Exactly. And
quality.
that's, yeah,
So
and that's
it
that's
is
basically
definitely
it.
worth it. You've also captured like the Northern Lights in Dundee, which has been really good. Where do you go for? Well, you normally go over like Dens Park and stuff.
Yeah, that's because I stay relatively near. I stay in the city centre in Dundee,
Yeah, that's
so it's convenient. Well, if you're going to compare myself to you, because I've seen some of your bangers for the Northern Lights, and you've been well
no,
travelled for them as well. You'll kind of jump on a plane
yeah,
and head
yeah,
north.
they were good experiences. Like they were very, very good. But I mean, to capture as you've done Northern Lights in a city, I mean that's that's
Mhm.
probably they're pretty rare images. Normally, yeah, people like myself will go out into a mountain and capture them, but to get them in the like literally middle of a big populated city, like the one, what was it, March, and you had all the reds and the pillars. That you could have just
Mhm.
that was like an Iceland shot, but in the middle of Dundee. So they're
Yeah,
probably
and
newspapers would go all over that because that's just literally it's very relatable to everyone.
that's one thing I love about, especially that one you just mentioned that happened in March, the big kind of Aurora that kicked off, and
Yeah.
it's happened a few times in March,
What
didn't it? In the start
2019?
of May.
Oh.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Um, and what I love about that, especially photography, is it's almost like a shared experience when a big event like that happens. Everybody gets a chance to see something that's very rare that you and I
Yeah,
may see more than the average person.
yeah,
And just getting to see that, and some people with the naked eye, and that was what was great about that one was I was able to see it with the naked eye and parts. Red is very difficult; it's usually picked up in the camera, but I was able to
yeah.
see slight parts red from the city centre of
Yeah.
Dundee, and just picking it up there, and it's just
It was
it's like wow,
it
people are
was so
paying
red. I remember
yeah.
I was with my partner out at this location. It was a great, amazing show. Oh, yeah. Oh, right. That was great. And then it just went really red. I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen that. It was
Mhm,
so red. I've seen it once in Iceland, but you're like, oh, it's Iceland. You'll get mental stuff in Iceland. But the
mhm.
amount of red, it was like, this is weird for Scotland. That's ridiculous. But hopefully, I think the Northern Lights they seem to be getting really, really active just now. So hopefully next year, coming into, solar maximum, it's going to get pretty good.
So yeah, you could probably confirm from me if you know, but I was Googling and I thought solar maximum was every 6 years, but Google says it's every 11 years. Is that right?
Yeah,
Is
11
that,
years.
yeah, it's 11 years. So that means we've got better years to come, right? Like
Yeah, I think it's 2026 is the peak.
peak, yeah. So we've got a lot of banger shows inbound, So come this winter, yeah, everybody have their cameras charged because you're gonna
Yeah,
hopefully get some nice.
there's even a few weeks ago, I regretfully didn't go out because I just thought it was just a lot of color. But I think you got pictures over, was it a school or something?
Yeah,
But
Morgan
it
High
was quite
School, yeah.
faint. I don't think it was that visible with the naked eye.
So, what people, so the with Aurora, obviously, when you know what it's like in darker skies, in terms of like if you're getting deep space objects or the Milky Way and you're trying to pick up that hydrogen alpha, you can pick it up in darker skies because you're not having to combat with light pollution. In
Yeah,
terms of the city, there's kind of certain techniques you can do. I'm positioning myself out the way of streetlights. There's a lot of streetlights.
yeah,
And I can share the raw with you, but then there's obviously like post when you edit in Lightrooms. You can I
yeah,
tend to not saturate pictures now. When you
yeah.
first start off editing, you might add a bit of saturation. I tend to raise the vibrance and maybe
Right.
kind of contrast and light, highlights a bit to kind of make it
Yeah,
pop. So in that particular picture, I raised it up, but it was insane how big it was because I've tried to get the Aurora there before many times when it's been red alert,
yeah,
and I've had no success. Maybe you see a faint green, but that day was just,
yeah.
it,
Oh, I saw pictures. I was like in my bed, just not really caring, and then go on Facebook and there was a guy, I can't remember who it was, but a guy in Fife captured this
Mhm.
huge big filter. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then everyone was out, and I'm going, oh shit. So I quite went outside, but I only got like a wee pink pillar, and then it was
Yeah.
cloud be clear. I'm like, oh. Then you can't sleep like nights like that. You're just thinking, oh, what's happening out there? It's really annoying. But I think as I've been saying, we'll get other chances next year, hopefully, which is really
Yeah.
good. Because, well, when I was, I can't remember why was I up there? I was doing like the talk at the Dundee Observatory, and
Hmm.
so happened there was a guy there that like researches Aurora and kind of studies the Aurora. So I'm like, this
Right.
is loads of stuff. And he was showing me pictures of like a green band like over the Tay. Like if you're at the observatory, he was looking south and you could see the green band. So I mean, if we get stuff like that, you'd be able to get like Aurora like over the Tay Bridge. Like
Yeah.
hopefully that happens in the next few years, which would be amazing.
I've managed to get it over the Tay rail bridge, but it was washed out. And I think I can't
Yeah,
recall, I think it was the start of the year, January, maybe start of February, and there was a big aurora. And I thought this is I'll be insane, because I'm having people message me and call me saying, "Get out now! It's
yeah,
big." And
yeah,
I'd shot from there, but Dundee's light pollution had like just
yeah,
drained it out. I picked it up, but I think there must have been like a mist in there. There's so many variables. Like there must have been
yeah,
like a slight mist, and the light was just bouncing off of that and
yeah.
just
Well,
kind of washing out. And
no, you're at Dundee. It's pretty. Every time I seem to be in Dundee, it's like sea hard and foggy, and
mhm,
you've got all that to combat with, which is annoying.
joys
But
of the coast.
yeah, Joys of the Coast. Yeah, but no, I'm sure we'll get some good shows. Nocturnes and Clouds is coming up soon, which is pretty
Yep,
good.
can't wait.
But one thing you've got a drone, and you take pictures of the Nocturnes and Clouds through the drone, don't you?
Have I done that? Maybe I've taken so many pictures. I want to say
Like,
yes, I have. I've
I'm
got
pretty
friends,
sure.
like you've probably seen Tayside in pictures and
Yeah,
Scotland. They've done it. I know for sure, and they've
yeah.
got
'Cause
some
I've
nice
seen some
pictures.
cracking pictures from, say, the other side of the bridge from Dundee. Was it Tayport, Taymouth, whatever it is? And then
Uh-huh.
they've got drone up, like looking down the Tay Road Bridge, and then
Hmm.
Nocturnes and Clouds. How does the drone stay stable for a few seconds exposures? Is that just technology nowadays? Is that good?
Yeah, that's it. So it's a lot of, you can need everything to align with a drone. Well, as you know, noctilucent clouds come kind of mostly is it July, August? It tends to be the kind
Yeah,
of
just
prime
height of
months.
summer. Yeah, yeah, July.
And that point where we are in Scotland, it's perpetual twilight, so it doesn't get too dark. And
Yep.
blue hour is probably like the nicest time to take pictures with a drone,
Yeah,
because you've got not overblown highlights, but you've got enough that it doesn't create too much noisy images.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's beautiful drone shots of Dundee with like all the people that you said there taking pictures
mhm.
and stuff. Get some cracking drone pictures. Like, when you get a drone
Yeah.
picture of Northern Lights, man, that'd be
So
insane.
I've seen images of that, but I'm skeptical because I do believe if you had taken a picture, you've got drones are quite wide angle.
Yeah,
I do believe it's possible with shows that we've had recently. I think if you had the drone up overlooking Dundee, you'd pick something up. Would it be
yeah,
great? No, but you can do stuff. There's stuff like
somehow.
techniques like stacking you can do with a drone to kind
Yeah,
of alleviate noise, and that might pick up, where you can kind of maybe bring up the clarity a bit, and it might just make the rotor pop. So it's a nice
yeah,
contrast between Dundee and that. So yeah, I think it's possible, but some of the pictures I've seen, I'm quite skeptical because I've seen some people say they've claimed they've shot with Aurora. The Aurora's just been like a normal green arc, maybe like 5, 10 degrees above the horizon,
yeah, yeah.
and there's probably they're in a dark area, say like the Cairngorms,
Hmm.
and it's like, no, you're not picking up the detail of the Cairngorms, with the
Yeah,
road. Like, I don't believe that's possible. With
yeah,
Dundee, it's been illuminated by like, the street lights and all that.
yeah.
So
It's a nice
you're getting
urban sort of feel.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
So
no,
that's
100%.
lighting up the foreground for you,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's your task to get an Aurora shot from a drone.
Yep.
But hopefully it'll be a good Noctilucent St. Cloud year this year, because last year I don't think it was that great. I think I only got like a couple of shows and that was about it. Seemed to be a bit funny.
You're right. So the year before, I think was the first year I'd shot the Noctilucent Clouds.
Yeah,
And,
the year
and
before was great.
I think I seen one of your videos. I seen Alan Wallace's video,
Uh-huh.
and I thought, right, okay, they look great,
Yeah,
and I didn't realize how cool they were until I stepped out. I remember lying in bed,
yeah,
friend Ben messages saying NLC's not out now, so basically, got up, got clothes on, grabbed the
Yeah,
camera, and I remember walking out and looking northwards
yeah,
and just seeing these clouds and just looking like a ghostly,
yeah. It's just ghost.
ethereal. And I was like, wow, now I understand the hype between the
Yeah,
NLCs, and it
yeah.
just made me go,
There's a guy. I don't know if you watch him on YouTube, Scotland's Mountains. He just climbs
no, no.
mountains. He's like a mountaineer in Scotland, and he does like he does like summit camps and stuff, and photographs the night sky if it's clear around him, and he's photographed the northern lights from mountain tops and stuff. And he
Wow.
said in a recent video, because he did capture finally noctis and clouds, but he did say, he's like, "Oh, I've seen online about these noctis and clouds. It's just clouds. It's ridiculous." But he
Hmm.
got a good show finally, and he was like, "Oh my God, they were amazing." And they
Yeah,
are. They're just so vibrant. If you do a time lapse, they do wave a wee bit and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, they're
yeah.
just really strong. They're just, I don't know, they're weird. They're very weird. And I think last year there was like red noctilucent and clouds, like over the Isle of Skye, which was weird. You know,
Okay, so is that the actual cloud that's red, or are you talking about like
yeah,
the
it was the actual
horizon?
cloud.
Like,
No, it was
right,
just
okay.
something to do with whatever, some atmosphere.
Science.
Yeah, some science and the height in
Yeah.
the atmosphere, but there was like
Hmm.
the clouds had a wee red tinge to them. Like, oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
they're really, yeah, incredible to watch. So hopefully this year's pretty good to
Yeah,
watch.
yeah.
Which is pretty good because that app Glendale now does like noctilucent and clouds and stuff, so you can see that's always
That's
handy.
correct. Yeah.
It's harder to predict noctilucent and clouds than Aurora because there's no saying if NLCs are out; they just come out whenever they want. Um, so we'll hopefully see. But I remember the start of this year, I captured a wee bit with a phone because I didn't have my camera, but you got a good picture of the polar stratospheric clouds.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Just a fancy name for them.
Yeah, yeah, you got me saying it.
Yeah.
Polystratospheric.
Oh, it's a
Yeah,
funny name. Can't
yeah, yeah.
remember.
Yeah, there's another name for them as well. Oh, it's
Unicorn.
escaped my mind. Yeah, there's other I think it's yeah, there's so many names.
Yeah,
For
you've got
it.
a
I'm
good
just trying
video
to
of that.
see. You got me curious to see what the name
No,
was again.
what was it
There
called
we go.
again?
Mother of Pearl, Nacreous clouds. That's it.
No, Nacreus, that.
Nacreous. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you got a good video of them. That was probably the same night or evening, morning. I saw them
Yeah, it
as
was a
well.
morning. Yeah, yeah. It was about. I think it was about 7 a.m. or something. So the sun was kind of just before it rose up, and
Yeah,
and just look. And this is the beauty about photography. It's like you learn. There's always something, just like you tell me about the red NLCs and stuff. So, there's always some kind of rare event happening. So that kind of keeps it dynamic and shifting. But yeah, that was the first time I heard about them, seeing them, and it
yeah,
was Adrian from Night Lights.
yeah,
And he talked about them because
yeah,
I think where he stays in Norway, is it Tromsø?
yeah.
Is he stays in Tromsø? Yeah.
It
And
thumbs up. I spent a week with him,
and
so yeah, he's very knowledgeable.
yeah, he knows his stuff. Yeah, I'm just like, Adrian, what are you talking about half the
Yeah,
times? But
yeah.
yeah, I'll need
When
to attend one of his classes at some point just to kind of brush up on my
yeah,
Aurora
when I went,
knowledge.
with him to photograph, we just kind of he was just talking about it, and I was just like, yeah, this is amazing. I'm just gonna listen to you. Mm.
He's
He knows his
passionate
stuff.
about it, and that's what exudes out. And that's what I like when I see people like yourself or Alan Wallace or Richard from Nightscape Images, and just
Mhm.
they passionately talk about it. And I just
Mhm.
love seeing people who care. There's a lot of people that talk about passionately about hobbies, but this is something we're interested in, and it's quite a hard one to get into, because it expense and staying up late hours, trying to mix that with work, family life. It's
Yeah,
difficult, but people like them make me just want to, and yourself make me just want to kind of pick up the camera, set the alarm for 2 a.m. and just
yeah,
drive like 50 miles north, and
yeah.
just
I
shoot
think it's just
something and find random things, in the night sky and go, what the heck is that? Oh, wow,
yeah.
it's a
We're
comet.
we're so fortunate, I think, in Scotland that we have got literally everything. We've got Milky Way, we've got the Knoxals and clouds, we've got the Northern Lights, we get all these weird clouds, we get full moonrise. Well, everyone gets moonrises, but we've got like the landscape, we've got the dark skies. Scotland has pretty much ticked all the lists for everything you could possibly need in
Hmm.
astrophotography, and we've got like huge dark skies. When you compare the whole of Europe for light pollution, like Scotland, you just see above the central belt for Scotland, just all dark.
Yeah,
You go anywhere
yeah.
in Europe, you're pretty humped. So I think we're just so fortunate. So and people just don't really like appreciate it really. So I think yeah, we're just really fortunate.
Hmm.
Scotland. Is there anywhere
Yeah,
in
agreed.
Scotland you'd want to like travel and it'd be good to see your like oh you get under like really dark skies and stuff.
Hmm. So the first time I ever experienced like a proper dark sky
Mm.
was when I recently just picked up the camera. So I think the first kind of astro image I did was Neowise. And I
Yeah.
think when the darkest skies came in, it was about September time in 2020. I decided, right, I've done Carrot Hill enough. I've done the Dundee Law enough. I need somewhere dark. I need to, I'm looking at the light pollution map.info. I'm looking at all infrared and I'm just going, right, Cairngorms, look at that. It's just a huge area of
Yeah.
darkness, right? It's either there or in the middle of the sea. You've got uh, and, and I'm just looking, I'm going, right, there's a few places I've seen photographers take pictures of that would look lovely.
Mm.
And one of them was the Balmoral Cairn. Um, the Prince Albert Cairn. It's
Oh,
like the
yeah,
pyramid. People call it the
yeah,
Scottish pyramid. It's
yeah,
up in the
yeah, yeah,
Balmoral estate. So
yeah. I've still
I
got
said
that
a
one.
group of
But
yeah,
I saw how far
it's
it was, and I'm like, but yeah,
yeah. So you know what I mean. You have to plan these right because it's like it's fuel
yeah,
money. Where are you staying? Because if you're driving like 3-4 hours north, you've got 3-4 hours drive back. So you're like,
yeah,
am I camping? Am I booking a hotel? This is starting to cost me a lot just to take a few Milky Way pics. But I'm
yeah.
like, right, okay, let's take a tent and I'll drive up with a few friends and we'll camp right at the Balmoral Cairn. So we
Nice.
drove up, parked there, and I go, right, this is going to be my first time experience dark skies. So at this
Yeah,
point, I'm loving astrophotography, but I've never experienced dark skies.
yeah,
And I just remember, just that first night, just after twilight and
yeah,
astronomical dark came in, and I just remember sitting in awe.
yeah,
No wind, no wind, which is rare.
yeah,
It was vaguely warm,
yeah,
not freezing my ass off, and
yeah,
it's perfect, not a cloud in the sky. Milky
yeah.
Way, and the kind of southwest, sorry, kind of moving westwards. I'm at a place that I've never been before. It's no lights around, it's quiet, and I'm just like, if I had a night like that every, like, now and then, I'd
Yeah,
be a full-time astrophotographer. But
yeah,
it's yeah. So that was my first taste of like dark skies, and that's
yeah,
what made me just like seek for those type of nights. And
yeah.
I'll be honest, I've not had a night quite like it yet. I've had
No,
great nights with Aurora, but a dark sky night where it's just warm, like lukewarm, and it's
yeah,
clear, no wind, no wind. Like when you're doing
yeah,
like it's on a
yeah.
star
The
tracker,
temperatures
you
we have
get
to go
star
through
trails.
sometimes. Picture is a bit annoying.
Hmm.
Wind and rain, well, not rain, obviously, but just wind and cold temperatures. But yeah, to get a nice warm. But then sometimes when it's like really warm, your cameras all gets dewy and all warm and wet.
Yeah.
It's there the sticky nights and like, well,
Yeah, you can. Yeah, so you can't have it all, but that night I had it all, and it was like
yeah,
one of my first. So I had that A 5100 on the wide angle, and I'm just setting up a time lapse. I'm kind of light painting the pyramid, and I'm just, I'm
yeah,
tripping over, heather in the dark and stuff like that.
yeah.
And
It's a good
but I'm just
experience.
having a yeah. I've got a few beers at that point, and I'm just sitting shooting astro. I'm like, can
Yeah,
life get any better?
yeah. Is there any other memories that you think of under the stars, or is that a good one?
Yeah, I would say that's one of my favorites in terms of like staying overnight and just you're always going to remember some of the first times you shot
Hmm.
something pretty epic. And yeah, I've got many because a lot of the time. So after that, what I would do, I've got on Google Drive, you can set a map and you can set a lot of markers. So you mentioned Scotland. I've set a
Yeah,
lot of these kind of points.
yeah, well,
Location points with a bit of information, be there like buildings with monuments, with castles, and
yeah,
where I hope to, if all the stars align, and I can just get out and maybe drive towards it and just shoot that. So I've got a lot of places in mind that I do want to do, but like you say, we're now kind of into summer. We'll have to wait to about maybe mid-August, September
yeah.
before we can start shooting
Yeah,
again. But then the
and
Milky Way's, sorry.
yeah, no, that's okay. But yeah, it's all planning. Like I know yourself's busy, you've got a family and stuff. It's very hard to kind of
Mhm.
get the when you've got a bit of free time. Make sure there's no moon, there's clear skies. It's very hard to line everything up these days, which is just annoying.
I'll
Um,
tell one memory, sorry, that does stand out, but it's not really astrophotography. But I was out. Was there's a Lynn Laughing Bridge down just to the kind of just east side of Dundee, and it's an old iron bridge. It was kind of in the 17th or 18th century. I think it's
Mm.
had repairs on that, but it's proper old. And I thought, right before the moon rises, let me go out and take a picture. So I was with
Yeah.
a guy called Adam, and we
Uh,
were kind of shooting the bridge. You've got a stream, this kind of iron bridge,
nice.
and the stars above it. And I thought, right, okay, it's not going to win any awards, but it's a nice, unique location to shoot the stars. And just before the moon rose, I remember packing up the equipment. And remember, this is Dundee, Scotland, and I'm packing up the equipment, and in the corner of my eye, when you're kind of like it's cloudy and like the moon just kind of peers out of like the side
Uh,
of a cloud, and it just gets that bright, then kind of disappears.
yeah.
I seen something like that in the corner of my eye, and I'm just going, oh, the moon's not to rise for 15 minutes, more minutes, right?
Okay.
I'm packing up, and then this thing's just getting brighter and like massive, and I'm just like,
Okay.
what the heck? And obviously, I've seen rocket launches before, right? I've watched SpaceX live streams and I'm just like, that's a rocket. But then I'm like, wait, I'm in Dundee, Scotland.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
never, in the whole time, in my 30 odd years of existence, I've never seen a rocket or heard anybody talk about seeing, a rocket from Dundee,
yeah.
Scotland, or just Scotland or even Great Britain.
Uh,
Maybe small launches, but nothing on that scale, or like a
yeah,
SpaceX launch. And then I found, I'm looking on social media and I'm like, nothing, see nothing. No
yeah,
astrophotographers, no local photographers are mentioning it.
yeah,
And I'm just like, wow, that's a rocket. And in my head, I'm like, is World War III just started,
yeah. What's going on?
Because I'm like, there's nothing going on. And it turns out, it wasn't until a few hours later on Twitter, and somebody had mentioned it was the Atlas V rocket, which was carrying the Landsat 9.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's like a satellite imaging thing, but
yeah.
satellite. But yeah, that would for me was an experience
That
because
was pretty cool. I remember. I do remember that night because I was photographing. I think I was photographing because it was. I remember it because it was like cloudy for a while, and then it finally got clear. And I'm like, right, I'm just gonna go out and shoot the plough over this
Mhm.
bridge. I spent like an hour shooting the plough over the bridge. Went home, and then all of a sudden I see this rocket, and I'm like, I've just came in from. So I didn't capture it because I
Mhm.
just got home. And as soon as I get home, everyone's capturing this awesome once in a lifetime rocket over Scotland. I'm like, what the hell? That was really annoying. But yeah,
Yeah, I understand that because you get Tog envy and yeah,
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 yeah. Well, it's
it's
probably like seeing you online. Like you posted a picture of a rocket. I'm like, what the hell? This was in
I,
Dundee. What the? I just
exactly.
came home. Oh yeah, but yeah, the amount of times that things, sometimes like that, especially same with Aurora, you go to bed and it all kicks off and that.
Happened so many times, man. It's yeah, I can't even count. I've lost count of how many times that I've kind of stayed out all night or been out all the night before up to like 6 a.m. when the sun rises, head back, go right. I'm not going to the next night because Aurora was expected the night before. You go to bed early the next night because you're shat from the night before and the Aurora
Yeah,
kicks off. You wake up, everybody's posting bangers, and you're like,
yeah, you're like,
right. And I
yeah,
like to be part of it, and that's the beauty of it, right? That's a part of social media I like because it's like a shared experience. We kind of say, you help each other out and say, like, there's this idea. How many
mm,
people I've had to me when I posted my first Milky Way, that one over the Balmoral Cairn, and somebody's, I got a lot of messages saying, is that real? Is that
yeah,
real, right? I wouldn't say my editing was the best at the time, but I didn't over,
yeah,
edit it. It was pretty, I can share raws and whatnot.
uh,
But a lot of people ask me if that was real, and I go, yeah, it is. Camera, of
yeah,
course, picks up more detail, but I
yeah,
was, you see the Milky Way, the naked eye, you notice it looks kind of like the sky's clear, but it looks like
yeah,
cloud in the sky.
yeah. It's
It's
a milky sort of thing.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I mean, you've seen it way more than I have, so and probably in better, darker skies. But yeah,
definitely.
that I
Yeah,
love that experience where some people go, "That's amazing, that is real," because they trust me not to kind of hoax it,
yeah,
um, and that inspires them maybe to take a picture or come out with me kind of on an astro skirmish
yeah,
and
yeah.
take some pictures.
It's definitely no. Your photos, inspire people. Even so, did you not get a picture in Alan Wallace's book or something?
Yeah, so yeah, I would say that almost kind of came full circle. So that in that case, it was just a submission. So I just had to submit my photos. So you
Oh.
watch a video, Alan's like looking for it. So it's not like Alan's like seeking me out. It's you kind of
Hmm.
submit the photos. But the reason I started going out for nights out were because of Alan's video. I remember being during lockdown and watching
Hmm.
Alan's video. And after watching his videos, all I wanted to do is just go out somewhere random, dark and shoot. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I just totally fell in love with it. So Alan was kind of like the the inception of my astrophotography,
It
if you
was kind
will.
of pioneer for everyone to do
Oh,
like landscape
mhm,
because I think at that time when he was starting, I was just mucking about with like a telescope photographing the moon. And then I saw,
mhm.
go out and do landscape astrophotography, and I think that kind of introduced everyone to, there's more than just sitting with a telescope in the night sky. So I think it got a lot of people out and about more.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for your mental health as well. A lot of people go hiking during the day, but you can go hiking at night if you've got, good torches and head torch and you've kind of planned the route and stuff. You've got adequate, clothing, etc. You can go a lot of places, and just that on itself, just the journey of being under the night sky and
Yeah.
just walking is great. So, and just
Oh,
seeing like people like yourself and Alan and that do it and just kind of walk out, it inspires me to kind of, go out and just want to do that. And you fall in love with it. It's
yeah.
just, and yeah, so that was the initial point. And then when I'd sent that to Alan, and he'd not just picked one, but two of my photographs to go in the book, and I thought, wow, that's just like, that's really cool because I try to not let my ego override, there's reality, and there's kind of my desires, but I thought it was pretty cool, that's how I started off with saying, oh, I just submitted it rather than going, yeah, I got pictures, alongside NASA in Alan's book. It's just,
Yeah.
I try and keep it, real at the same
Yeah.
time.
It's a good wee achievement, good thing for the
Yeah,
photography
yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of proud of that. So that's a great book as well. He's done a really good job, and that's a lot of
Yeah.
information. I've still not even finished it, to be honest. But
No, I've not got it myself, but I saw it up at Adrian's and Strong's on it. Read through it, but there's so much in it. I was like, Jesus Christ,
yeah,
there's,
yeah,
there's so much in it.
it's literally
Uh,
the Astro Encyclopedia, isn't it?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Any adventures, plans for the future? Just to kind of wrap things up. What's on your
Right.
bucket list? Anything you
Um.
align the moon up?
So yeah, I kind of just take the moon as it comes, obviously, because it's the
Where
weather.
it
It's
is.
weather permitted, right? So if we had a clear sky every time there's a moon, I'd probably plan it in advance. But especially being local, there's only so many times I could get the moon behind the Dundee Law. I kind of make a joke of that myself, I'm the guy who shoots the moon behind the law,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
because I like to post often. It was more about engagement, initially to get myself kind of established locally
Yeah.
as somebody who takes
It
pictures.
was, I remember
Um,
you designed your logo, and I'm like, of course, it's a picture of like a moon thing around the lot. I'm like, bang,
yeah,
yeah,
it strangely looks phallic like, there's
oh
jokes
yeah,
there. But yeah, I'm glad you kind of spotted that. It was my friend Soumya. She's a graphics design artist, and she designed it for me. She's really good, and she talked about simplicity and logo design because, if I had to create something, I'd probably make an absolute mess of it. And she talks
yeah,
about simplicity is key. So yeah, I've kept that, but I thought what you get a lot of people who use cameras as their logo, and I
yeah,
thought that kind of almost looks like a camera, like the center
yeah.
of the,
It's a smart logo. I remember,
yeah,
like, oh, I can see a camera in that, and the lens is the moon and the law. It's smart, smart. It's very smart. Yeah,
yeah, thank you. It was, yeah, Soumya, like I said, it designed it. But yeah, so in terms of moon, no, I kind of just take that as it comes. But I do have a holiday coming up in July, so I'm really, really looking forward to. So I'm going to Turkey with a family
nice.
before my little one starts school. Uh, and I've never shot the Milky Way or anything night sky outside of Scotland. Scotland, it's great, but as
Yeah,
you know, the Milky Way core, especially at the springtime, only
yeah.
rises so much. And for the first 5 degrees, it's all hazy. You're not getting that good detail. And it starts to
100%.
get like dawn, as it gets too high.
Yeah,
And then the
yeah.
summer, it's up high enough, but it's not dark enough to take shots. So I'm going to Turkey in
That'll be
July,
good.
and I'm looking
Oh,
forward to take pictures of the core higher up.
yeah. No, that would be good. I'll look forward to that. That's on my list as well. I know.
Mhm.
Yeah, Scotland's, it's the same Milky Way every season, but yeah, down south you proper get it, you'll see like the core above you, but almost are a wee bit higher.
Yeah, La
Awesome.
Palma's like the kind of the creme de la creme. I see a lot of astro
Yeah,
talks going to,
I'm,
you're
I'm
above the
plan-
clouds and light pollution,
yeah,
and
I need to plan that. Yeah, I've been thinking
yeah,
about it for
it's on the
um
bucket list. Yeah. for
I think
sure.
that's on everyone's bucket list. Then we'll just go on a huge big astro holiday to La Palma. But I thought, like, surely every astrophotographer knows of La Palma. I thought if you got there, the summit would just be surrounded by astrophotographers.
Yeah,
Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know.
it's
But
to
yeah,
be seen.
yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for chatting. It was good to see your Dundee experiences.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. I appreciate it. Hopefully I didn't kind of